Hi, my name's Greg Drury, and I believe that people should be, able to discuss their past mishaps, especially when it was unsubstantiated and caused a lot of problems. So, 25 years ago, I was convicted of attempted rape and charged with a misdemeanor, which was very confounding in itself. Um, Rape is usually considered an act of violence or force, and there was proved to be no force or no violence at all. And I never actually, in my case, I never had any of my clothes off, but somehow they felt justified in bringing this to the judge. And actually, because I couldn't take it seriously, I didn't put a lot of attention on it, so it got me deeper in trouble in a sense and buried me a little deeper. And then by the time it was all over, I was serving 70 days in jail. So at this point, what I want to do is talk a little bit about the mishap. And over 25 years, I have a sort of a timeline and history of some of the things that occurred. And through the years, it has also been revealed to me by a friend who knew some of the people involved that it was a conspiracy. And there was a woman who liked me a lot. And this was back in like 84 and 85. And she was married, though, but she was still very promiscuous and wanted to be involved with me. And I did not date her, but unfortunately, I dated her best friend, which upset her quite a bit. So she had a grudge against me for a very long time. And then we were both in the aerobics industry and fitness industry. And somehow, all the way, now we're talking about 1998 or 9, she got a few of her friends to conspire against me and say that a woman got a massage by me and we were sexually involved and that it was a crime, which I'm suggesting it wasn't. And the this woman kept begging me for a massage for about 2 months, and I kept denying her because I knew it would be trouble because she was very pretty and she was, looking at me like a, piece of raw meat. But I somehow succumbed after about 2 months, and we did get, I did massage her. There was no charge, no fees or anything like that. It wasn't a professional massage, but we did have some sexual involvement, but it wasn't anything about intercourse or anything like that. So anyway, the police called me and they were with her, coaching her what to say to try to get me to confess a few things. And I guess they got enough to charge me and arrest me. And then, I was in jail for a couple of days, and then they, let me out, and I was around then we did trials for about 2 weeks, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, even maybe 6 months. And eventually they found me guilty. So, I had a public defender because I wasn't wealthy. So everything I've seen about public defenders is that they do their best to get the person convicted. It sounds weird, but I've seen people come in with a public defender and the person starts talking and the judge is getting angry, and then all of a sudden the criminal, this alleged criminal, says, "Let me talk," and then they talk over the public defender. They literally get off the case and they get them dismissed. But when the public defender represents you, it's a good chance they're going to railroad you into a guilty verdict. So I'm looking at this thing, and over the years, I couldn't figure out why it all happened and what happened and how it went down. But apparently, I was able to get an appeal. Unfortunately, I used a public defender appellate service. So about 2 years after this happened, and I actually served my 70 days in jail, we went back because they could not find the transcripts for the case, for the hearing, and that's an automatic expungement. So we went to the courthouse with all the information prepared, and 2 minutes before I went into the courtroom, the district attorney from DC pulled me aside, and my appellate attorney was standing with me when I was told if I didn't say I was guilty to this judge, she would put me back in jail. And I was like, 40 years old or something, and I was a little nervous about that, right? So I couldn't figure out why my representation did not defend me or say anything. So I went in and I said, yes, this happened, whatever. And they said, okay, goodbye. I left. Everything was fine. But I'm looking at my records now, and it says there was a weapon involved. I was like, these guys are crazy. There was no such thing as a weapon. There was nothing like that, but they do whatever they want in this court system. And it just shocks me. But in the process of this whole episode, I was told by a friend who knew one of the people that had lied at the grand jury, who was also a member of this fitness club, that I had, acted inappropriately, with some massage thing that I was doing. And it was actually the opposite of what happened. I called them and said, listen, I need to know what your intention is, because I don't want to get into any weird sexual thing or any kind of strange stuff. And they said, well, we have to admit we were thinking about that. And I was like, okay, I can't do it, right? But she then goes to the grand jury and said that I did participate in that. So I knew there was something crazy going on. Well, her best friend at the time, eventually over the next 20 years, every time I saw her every 5 years, we were kind of buddies still, she would reveal something new. And what I found out eventually was that one of the women that I had originally liked, and I dated her girlfriend, she was the ringleader of getting some people together and setting this whole thing up, framing me to get in this situation so I'd get in trouble. Now, after I got arrested and I got out of jail, my church wouldn't let me do any ministries. I got kicked out of Civil Air Patrol. All these things happened because of this event. And now 25 years later, the judge, Anita Josie Herring, she's retired from the DC Superior Court, but she was the person that sentenced me and convicted me. And I was like, I went to church on Sunday, this last Sunday, October 13th, 2024. And I took a picture with her, and I didn't tell her who I was or anything like that. And we had a reception and everything else. But it's like after about 20 minutes in this reception, everybody started looking at me, and they were all whispering. And then somebody came over to the people I was talking to and whispered something in their ear, and they sort of got up and moved back. And I was like, what? This reminds me of my old church. They were always accusing me of things and watching out for me because they thought I was a bad guy. In fact, never have I been better in my life throughout that period. But when people want to make up their minds that you're a bad guy and demonize you, they are really good at it. So I was at my last church for 25 years. It didn't stop me from participating in service because I knew what I did wasn't wrong. But they kept this attitude. They even had people talk to me during church so that they could be watching me to make sure I wasn't whatever, flirting with people. And I'm like, this is really ridiculous. So, well, anyway, life goes on and you learn a lot of lessons in life. And maybe it was a good thing because who knows, maybe I would have dated a few of the women and so forth had I not been, tracked and scrutinized. But I don't think it would have been any more than any other male or any other any other situation that was uncanny. So whatever, I'm just looking at this timeline. We go from right when I got out of college, where my best friend was involved. He eventually got involved with my girlfriend that I had dated, who was best friends with this lady. They sort of had some issue about, we created a business together and they bought me out for a very little amount of money, and sort of that was a little trickery. And then it goes on, and I think this woman even knew that this lady was putting a case against me and was tricking me into it, but wouldn't tell me because they're best friends. Women still keep their closeness, even though weird thing happens between them. So then we go through all this time, and under the scrutiny of my church and all the other things that it, created, the mishaps, I'm now all the way here in 2024. And this judge visits my church, which I've only been attending for about 6 months. And now I have to deal with all this whispering and all this craziness again, all over again. And so I'm doing this video to kind of straighten some of these things out. And, one of the real interesting things is over the last 4 or 5 years, the alleged victim, the main character who can, accuse me of all this stuff, had called me. She called me like 2 or 3 times. I actually didn't answer the phone because I was in the middle of other things, but both times I saw her name come up on my phone. She didn't leave a message. And I talked to my good buddy about it because I was involved with a landmark program called the Forum, and we would always go back and try to clean up all our messes over time to free ourselves, our personalities up and our freedom up and be more forgiving and all the other. And also my buddy told me they do that in Alcoholics Anonymous as well, which means that she could have been in one of those 2 programs and wanted to call and recant her story and apologize to me. So what am I doing? 25 years of being scrutinized for this thing that never happened. And this lady could recant, and maybe I can get her to recant on a videotape or, to get my conviction reversed. And, I'm trying to get my record sealed still to this day. And I really think that if I were to have a professional who knew this industry call this alleged victim, she would probably willfully sign a notarized letter that said I didn't commit these things and that it was a conspiracy and that it was all set up from the beginning with a number of players. She probably could name the players. I'm not sure how much she wants to get in all that, but this is what I'm thinking right now. And I don't know why I have never made a video about this before, but this is, this is just unfortunate. But one of my favorite verses in the Bible, which I've been leading morning prayer for 30 years or something, it's about those who repay evil for good because what you've done is right. And I think that's verse 38. It's Psalm 38, verse 20. And basically what it means is, you do good in the world and people punish you for doing good because they feel shame that they're not doing good. And so whenever whenever you're living a blessed life, which I feel I've had a blessed life and I've had very good fortune and people always like me, I'm outgoing, I'm nice, I'm kind and everything else, people resent that. And this thing was created many years ago. The person who did all that pulling of people together passed away about 6 years ago. And she had a lot of health problems in her life. She was an alcoholic. And so, it's not that I wish people death. And, it's unfortunate when you do, and then they die, you don't feel anything. You almost feel disappointment. There's some emptiness because you don't want them to die, but they die and then there's no satisfaction. So I've learned that it's really not worth having ill feelings towards people. You just sort of deal with life and say, some people are really crazy. And I came to the final result and opinion that I actually was moved that this person went through all this trouble because I scorned her. That's how much she liked me. That's how mad she was. And so in some ways, it's a huge compliment. But it has created tremendous amounts of problem for me. And with Civil Air Patrol, I definitely want to start getting involved because I just got 3 or 4 months ago, I just got a new commercial drone license and I got my medical certificate for flight so I could actually fly airplanes. As of right now, I'm certified to go back up, and Civil Air Patrol has free planes, free gas, and also they have a drone program now, which I can get involved in to practice my drone stuff. So eventually I could do commercial drone work. And it just really is a good time for me to start cleaning up all these old things and using this path to become better. So, anyway, if you have questions, contact me, call me, email me, text me, whatever. Thank you.